The rats are fleeing the sinking ship that is the Donald Trump presidency, and it is for one reason, not their morality, not that they have had some change of heart moment. They haven't come to Jesus. No, 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 no. It's because they know it's over. They know the opportunities are drying up. They know it is only going to get worse from here. And they know that Donald Trump's presidency, his administration, is like a hoarder's house, filled with only the worst and most available Fox host from 10 years ago that were popular. That is Donald Trump's administration. And so anyone looking to still maybe make a little bit of money in the private sector or lobbying for some corporation is leaving Donald Trump. And that is what we just saw with his top lawyer. And it's not just how this person left, but it's who replaced them. That is so funny. We are going to get into it all, but before we do, we obviously have to start with the reason that you would want to leave as Donald Trump's top lawyer, given what just happened to Jeanine Pirro.
Pirro failed to get an indictment 3 times with 3 different grand juries. In yet another case where a grand jury refused to indict, a judge asked why Pirro's office wasn't dismissing the case, quote, out of sheer embarrassment and shame. Grand juries almost never fail to return indictments when prosecutors ask for them, but Jeanine Pirro's office has had to dismiss nearly a dozen cases when she was only 3 weeks into the job. Then Pirro tried to charge 6 sitting Democratic lawmakers, but a grand jury unanimously rejected that attempted indictment as well, and she soon gave up on that effort entirely. When a U.S. veteran burned an American flag across from the White House in protest, Pirro tried to have that guy prosecuted too, but that case also fell apart. As of April of this year, judges had tossed out nearly a dozen gun cases brought by Pirro's office. That's something federal judges in D.C. had rarely ever done before. And of course, there was the criminal investigation Pirro opened into the Federal Reserve Chair, Jerome Powell, which collapsed under the weight of its own absurdity within months. Now, of course, Jeanine Pirro has struck again in an even more embarrassing fashion. She announced with great fanfare about a month ago that her office was charging a man with damaging the reflecting pool that had just been renovated by President Trump. Pirro said that her office had evidence to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that the man willfully destroyed property at the Lincoln Memorial reflecting pool. The arrest appeared to vindicate Trump's insistence that the problems with the reflecting pool were the result of vandalism and not just shoddy work by his no-bid contractor. But then on Friday, Pirro's office dropped the case against the man they had charged. They said in court filings that, in fact, yes, the damage to the reflecting pool was the result of the botched renovation and behavior by the contractor. That has made President Trump reportedly very angry. He slammed her decision on his social media site, and in the Oval Office today, he said she, quote, choked and folded like an umbrella. I was kind of excited to hear that because I don't know how long it's been since I've heard the president with a 3-syllable word. That was pretty exciting. But despite that, within hours of those comments from Trump, amid some reports that Trump was thinking of firing her, Jeanine Pirro arrived at the White House tonight. The New York Times reporting that Pirro met with Trump in the Oval Office, but she was not fired in that meeting.
Why would anyone want to stick around the White House? Donald Trump gives you a terrible job and an impossible task. There is no amount of corruption that you can do for Donald Trump that will satiate him, that will satisfy him, that will get him certainly to say stop. Like, he always wants you to keep going. So it's just a job that will leave you fucked over. And, you know, maybe if karma is still a thing and the universe works, and if we have a Democratic president who, you know, wants to make me the attorney general and just fucking prosecute the shit out of him and build special jails for Stephen Miller, you're gonna end up in prison. Like, that's what's going to happen to these people, because Donald Trump does not care about you. He loved Jeanine Pirro. He made her a judge. He gave her a box of wine and said, let loose. And when she couldn't get the job done, he said she choked, that she was a loser. This is someone Donald Trump liked. If you work for the man, you will lose your money, you will lose your soul, you will lose your place in MAGA, and hopefully you'll lose your freedom. Haha, well, again, let's lock these people up. But that is why, seeing the chaos at the DOJ and in the wake of Todd, blanched being confirmed as the Attorney General, Donald Trump's top lawyer, he's out. Top Trump lawyer ditches the White House. The man tasked with making Trump's power-pushing agenda legally workable is leaving the White House. Donald Trump's top legal advisor, David Warrington, who helped push the limits of presidential power, is leaving the White House. The 80-year-old president announced on Sunday that Warrington would step down as White House counsel with White House Staff Secretary Will Sharp, one of the people pushing the White House ballroom project. Wow, he seems like he's got some great qualities to him, and a lovely resume, but he's going to be the one succeeding him. Donald Trump wrote on Truth Social, "It is, quite frankly, a great honor to announce that, effective September 1st, Will Sharp will become the assistant to the President and White House counsel, replacing a man, Dave Warrington, who has done a truly outstanding job as White House counsel. And before that, for my presidential campaign, David will be going to the private sector." Remember, Donald Trump usually doesn't specify what people are going to do when they leave his administration, except for Pam Bondi, who Donald Trump also said was going to private secretary. So, I don't know. I think that's a little bit of an interesting note there. The 58-year-old lawyer has been key as a key enabler of Donald Trump's second-term power push, advising the president as he invoked emergency powers, deployed troops to U.S. cities, deported migrants against court orders, and unleashed his sweeping tariffs. In May of last year, Warrington, together with then-Attorney General Pam Bondi, gave Trump the green light to accept a $400 million Boeing 70.47 as a gift from Qatar. Well, the Constitution, of course, prohibits federal officials from receiving personal gifts from foreign heads of state without the consent of Congress. We like to call those bribes in the community of people who tell it how it is. Warrington and Bondi concluded that the gift was legally permissible because it would be handed to the Air Force and later transferred to Trump's Presidential Library Foundation. So just, blatant corruption. Trump did not say why Warrington was leaving the White House just months ahead of the midterms. The White House did not immediately respond to requests for comments. I have to state again, these people, they're not leaving or, trying to save themselves because they're like, oh, geez, Trump is really corrupt. I don't think I can stand for this. If you're helping Trump accept his bribe gifts and carrying out, ICE killings, it's not that you're against the corruption. It's that you don't think you can make happen the corruption that's coming, right? It's not that you can't, hold your nose and sign up. It's that you literally don't think it can happen, right? Jeanine Pirro was not successful in prosecuting people who did not, by the way, vandalize the shitty reflecting pool. Donald Trump vandalized it. She didn't not make that happen, because in her heart of hearts, she actually believed that they were innocent. No, it's because she couldn't get anyone to indict or convict. It was nonsense. There was no evidence. There was no nothing. And so what was she gonna do? Was she gonna make shit up? They couldn't have done that correctly. She's drunk all the time. We've seen her on Fox. And so that's what the lawyers leaving Donald Trump administration, they're leaving right now, are projecting out to be happening corruption and law-breaking so bad that it's not that they can't stomach it because they love it, but they don't know how to carry it out. Now, I don't know if that is a good sign or a bad, but it is certainly one that we need to do more. But if you want the hopeful part of this, the man replacing Donald Trump's top lawyer is a fucking moron. Trump picks top aide on ballroom project to be new White House counsel. Donald Trump on Sunday announced Will Sharp, one of his go-to aides, will become the new White House counsel. The president said Sharp will enter the role in September and will be replacing, of course, David Warrington. And who was this guy before he started his job soon in September? Well, he had a couple of key roles, but he's best known for helping out in the ballroom. Really, that's your top legal mind, is the ballroom guy. This is who Donald Trump is left with, literally drunk Fox host and people who helped him on his ballroom. So, if you need anything to make you feel better about whether or not we will be able to beat these corrupt assholes, they are also corrupt, idiotic assholes. So again, little feelings of bubbliness and goodwill there. If you need a little pep in your step, yeah, these people are idiots. They don't know what they're doing, right? MAGA is full of incompetent people, so much so that they had to put together Project 2025 to be able to execute on their plans. And even that wasn't enough for them. Again, if you need to feel better about this, which we all deserve to listen to Jamie Raskin talk about, the way that Donald Trump's, attacks on us all have been going lately. It's not good. It's not good weaponization.
Donald Trump's personal attorney general. And he serves one guy, and he doesn't serve the American people, and he doesn't serve the government of the United States, and he doesn't serve the rule of law. So we're going to continue to beat them in court and beat them in Congress whenever we can. The last week or two have been great. We had a court dismiss the charges against my constituent, Davy Hearn, who had dipped his hand in the water at the reflecting pool and suddenly became the fall guy for Donald Trump's absurd mismanagement and waste of tens of millions of dollars of the taxpayers' money at the reflecting pool, which we call the Strait of Warm Ooze. We won a case related to the Donald Trump's bulldozing of the East Wing of the White House. It's totally up to Congress to control federal property and renovations to federal property, not to the president. And we've been shutting him down there, and just won another 2-1 federal circuit court opinion in the district court, in the circuit court for the District of Columbia about that. And, even on voting, everybody's flipped out because Donald Trump is trying to procure and obtain the voter rolls across the country from the states. And Donald Trump just lost, I think, his 19th straight case related to his efforts to do that. The president has no role in the management of elections, and all of that is just a completely lawless power grab. So we're going to continue to assert the rule of law at every turn with our allies in civil society and attorneys general across the country. And we're going to keep fighting back. And yeah, we've been trying to gather as much information as possible about all of the scams, all of the corrupt ripoffs that have been taking place.
The weaponization has fallen flat, and I must say again, not because these people have found a moral center, but because they cannot carry it out. Now, Todd Blanchard is going to do everything in his power to do just that. But as long as we are continuing to push back, and if we actually fight fire with fire, if we do what Katie Fang is doing in suing the DOJ, if we obstruct, if we bring so much litigation that they just can't work it, we will continue to win. Like, I know it's tough when we see the Supreme Court so often and more often than not side with Donald Trump, but we win this litigation. It does happen. And there are idiots in the White House. These are not particularly smart or bright people doing good work. They want to move their way up the ladder of corruption. And they're doing it, but they're not doing it well. It is an important thing to keep in mind. It is something that we have on our side. They have idiots, we don't. So let's keep working and keep fighting, and we are going to continue to call them out on this show. If you want to support that, as always, you can hit that subscribe button, leave a like on this video. If you stuck around at the end, drop a blue heart in the comments. If you want to support the show, another way, go over to my Substack, becoming a paid subscriber there. One of the best ways to support me, it is Jack Cucciarella. It is jackcucciarella.com. Keep on fighting, y'all. Don't let him silence you until next time. I'll see you soon.